All right, Mike in North Carolina. This is your President McKinley. Looks familiar to you probably with your amplifier that you have bolted to the top. So you did a nice job with that. It's pretty cool. I haven't seen that like that before. That's what I would do if I was going to do something like that versus putting in like the stinger board inside. I think that's better to do it like this. That way everything is external. If you ever want to get rid of the amp, you can, and then you don't have to worry about having an amp in here that's, if someone doesn't do a good job on the alignment or something, then you have to worry about an amp getting removed, and you're just covering up stuff, and, you're creating all this excess heat inside here that the radio wasn't designed to dissipate, and it's going to throw off probably your alignment anyway, so it's just a mess. I don't like those stinger boards, at least probably not in these. I just don't think it would be worthwhile. So it's much better to have it in an enclosed section like this. So it looks like someone drilled some holes in the amp for some extra cooling, which really isn't a bad idea. You can see a hole in each corner. These holes here are from the factory, these 3 holes. Surprising enough, I sold one of these, not this one, this is the older one. Mike must have got this from someone else, but surprising enough, I sold one of the ones when I was selling them, the new 203. I think it was a 203 with the black switches. Those are the newer ones. I think they're pretty much the same though. But anyways, the customer bought it on eBay, and they did a claim against me saying that it didn't work and that it was burned up when they got it, and they showed this picture of these 3 holes here and said that there was holes drilled in the top and all that stuff. So I just took the return back because you have no choice with eBay, and made a nice demo video unboxing it, showing that it worked and everything. And I sent them a demo video before I sold the amplifier to them as well, so they had it both ways, and never really heard anything back. But so they got their money back, and obviously they didn't like the product or something. But the holes here, if anyone wants to know, those are on all these small amps, those little 3 holes there. I think it's for ventilation already, I'm not really sure. And then they said that there was some screws drilled through the top. Well, yeah, those are where your power MOSFETs are, I believe. That's, I've never actually opened one up to look inside, but I would only assume the power MOSFETs are mounted to the heatsink for cooling as well. So, but the holes in here are going to help, I think, cool this thing down. So Mike sent this in, said that he wanted me to pair it with the amp, said that his receiver wasn't working too good. I'm assuming it was more on SSB, and I think the problem was the alignment was way out of whack on this. So what I did is I just recommended unlocking the clarifier, and that's what I did. There's a couple of the little parts here that the other ones are so small I can't even find them anymore, but those are a couple of the resistors that you take out, and there's a couple surface mount parts that you take out. So I figured while I was doing mics, I would do one for myself, and I did one right here too. This is a brand new one I pulled out, so this one is done as well. I think it's worthwhile to do to these, although you can align them how they come, but it's very time consuming, and it's much easier to do it this way. And then it gives you full control. So you can see here, there's the frequency counter. Now, I haven't gave this like a full alignment because, of course, the covers are off. But you can see here, if I move the clarifier, it's shifting even on AM, which that's a good thing because you want to make sure you're on frequency. And this gives you the ability to do that as well on AM. So it's kind of touchy. It's easier when the covers are on it and it's all warmed up and stuff, but it's a little tricky to, but you can see it's right at like 12, so it's a slight bump in it. There we go. That's pretty darn close right there. So yeah, all I did basically is just trim the adjuster, or use the trimmer a little bit and just roughly align it. So what I did for you, Mike, is with the amp off, I have you set to a max dead key of 2 watts, and I selected 2 watts because these aren't, they're not really a real strong AM radio. They're more of an SSB radio. I've noticed that the 980 by Uniden is a little stronger on AM and a little less on sideband. So when we key up now, you can see where your S meter, your signal RF meter is there. So if you hit this, actually just a second, let me get this set up a little bit different. Alright, so the radio's keyed up on AM, and the clarifier's up and down pretty much. I just adjusted the trimmer a little bit more, so it's going to fluctuate like that until the cover's on, and then you do the final alignment once it's, you know, warmed up. But it's much better to use these like that, in my opinion, than not, because they still drift. It's just the design of them. So here's the 5-watt scale. This is 2 watts, and that is the max I would like to see these. It is kind of low. Some of you guys will think, well, why not 4? But I noticed with these, when you inject a tone in, you know, modulated tone, that if you're running like anything more than like a couple watts dead key, the waveform really looks nasty. It, like, the carrier starts to like slope and stuff. It does some weird stuff, so I don't like that, and I want it to look good. So this is basically just the factory, or I'm sorry, the barefoot level here. So let me turn this up. So there's what we got. So it is going forward a little bit, and that's what we got there. So it's pretty good. You know, it's not a full 100%, but like I say, these aren't really designed for that. So yeah, you can push it, and it's going to be severely flat topped and just absolute garbage. But there's really no point. So I just wanted to show that what we're going to put into the amp. Now we are running through the amp right now, although it's off. So when you have your 2 watts mic, it's going to be at 9. And then what I want you to do is go to your power control and click that back to where one click, or actually 2 clicks. So 1, 2, press it in to store it. Now it's going to be about 1 3/4 watts. So what we want to do now is turn the amplifier on. So we'll switch this over to the 250 side and turn the amp on. Okay, and now I wanted to put in my 50. Sorry, and we're probably getting close to the timeout timer point. I don't do these videos scripted or anything. This is all just, you know, what it is. So we're about 25 watts. That's what I was shooting for. So when the amp's keyed up, it's about 25 watts. And that's about the best level I found. Alright, hit the output button. So it is going forward. Slightly, but it is going forward. And then that is the AM modulated waveform right there through the amp. So we can see. Still looks pretty good. Not too bad at all. So what I'm going to do now is put the 100. Do I have 100? No, I have a 250, so that'll work. 250 in there. Turn the peak side on. So it's doing about 70 watts with the tone, which is fine. And that's how I say to run it, really. So just to recap, we'll shut the amp off. We're going to unkey the radio because I'm sure it's going to get close to the timeout timer. I don't know if you can turn that off on these or not. I really don't remember. So it would help if you can. Okay. So again, when you want to run the amp on AM, that's where I recommend setting it about 7. So, and that's about 1 3/4 watts. If you don't want to run the amp, just run it like this all the way up, and that's like 2 watts. So it's really not lowering it that much, but it does make a difference. The amp starts to swing backwards if you put more than like 2 watts in, or even at that 2 watts. So that's about the limit. Of course, you can run less if you want to, but I mean 7 on this indicator is pretty good. So just about like that. Let me put the microphone on and I'll show you that really quick, what it's doing with the microphone. Alright, so I believe Mike is also running one of the KPO mics that I sold him, so I'm pretty sure that's what he's running. So that's what I'm going to run with it, Mike, is the KPO. The amp's on, The dead key is adjusted again to the 7. Did it go up a little bit? Yeah, it's kind of finicky. I'll have to readjust that. There's a RF meter adjustment, and it's kind of finicky. The problem is with the cover off and stuff, I really need to let it sit, and that's kind of like a final adjustment. I do put the cover on, let the radio stabilize temperature-wise, and then make those quick adjustments. But usually, whatever it's going to be like 2 clicks back from all the way up, which is about 2 watts. So you're not going to hurt it if you go another click back or anything like that. I mean, we could turn it all the way down even. Let's just do that for the heck of it. Goes all the way down. Turn the amp on. And now we'll talk and see. 1 2 1 2, check check. So even with it all the way down, I mean the amp is still pushing about 100.25, but it has a really low dead key, I think. So let's see. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's only like a 3 watt dead key with the amp keyed up, so that's a little too low. So, but you could run it like that. I mean, the modulation is probably pretty loud like that, but see if we can listen to it. 1 2 1 2, check check. 1 2. 1 2 1 2, check check. 1 2 1 2. Hello radio. 1 2. Still sounds nice and clear, minus a little bit of feedback there. So again, if I can get that RF meter to cooperate with me, and I'll try to do that again really quick so I can demonstrate. And with it all the way down, without the amp on, it's only about 1/4 watt or something, so it's really low, but it still keys the amp and it makes the amp do about 3 watts. So I'd rather see less going into the amp than anything else. These amps are best run with very low drive. Alright, yeah, I didn't have to change anything, so it kind of went back to what I showed before, where when it's on the 7 on the SRF, that's about your 1 3/4 watts there, which is going to get you that 25 watt mark. So I'll show that again really quick. Alright, so there's barefoot, amp off, turn it on. Right there. So it pushes it back up to a 9. Now again, this could all change on your antenna system. This is on a dummy load, so it could vary a little bit. So best thing to do is just, 2 clicks back from all the way up, and you really can't go wrong then. 2 clicks back. It usually doesn't change the SRF on the first click, but the second click will drop it down some on the radio. So, when it's on 9, it'll be at that 2 watt dead key when you're running barefoot. Hit your button, turn your RF power back 2 clicks, it'll move it back, lock it in, turn your amp on, and then it's about 25 right there. 1 2 1 2 3 4, check check check. Hello. So it is going forward, which you want. Hello, hello, hello. 1 2 3 4 1 2. None of this 20 swinging 50 average crap, because that's just distortion and overmodulation and garbage. So I don't do that here. Don't believe in that stuff. There's enough of that already on the airwaves. So if we put the 250 in there and we talk, 1 2 1 2 3 4, check check check. So about 100 and I don't know, 35 140 maybe. So it's not overdriving it at all. This thing will run, what do they say, it'll run like cool as a cucumber, I guess, all day like this, as long as you give this thing a good SWR and have it powered good with a good ground and enough amperage. You'll talk all day like this. Of course the amp will heat up, but that's just the way it is. It's gonna get hot when you use it, but it's sounding good through the Kenwood here for sure. So wish you guys could hear it better without it squealing, but 1 2 1 2. It sounds like kind of like you drop the hammer when you key up. Well, let's see. You hear that? Sounds like almost like you're stepping on a foot pedal. 1 1 2 1 2. Check check check. Hello hello 1 2. So that's AM. That's enough about AM. It's ready to go. I haven't done sideband yet, so I'm going to do that really quick and then check the receiver. I've already checked it once. It was pretty good, better than what I was anticipating when Mike said that he wasn't able to hear people too well. But again, when the radio is so far off frequency on sideband, I think Mike is more of a sideband guy like me. You're having to turn probably even like the course to get them in, and then people. I asked him on a text message. I said, if people told you that you're off frequency, and they said yeah, he said yes at times. Yeah, people have complained that I'm off frequency. So unlock clarifier takes care of that. It's good to go with that now. You just have to slightly move this back and forth a little bit to get people, if it's cold or whatnot. I don't know how cold it gets in North Carolina, but I would assume not as cold as Michigan. But still, if it's cold out below like 32 or something, the radio might take a second to stabilize. So you might have to keep it off center a little bit, but it doesn't hurt if this one's a little off center. It's the course that you want to make sure is right at 12. So let me take a look at sideband, and then I'll come back and show the results on that, and I'll set that up where you can run your RF all the way up, so that won't be a problem. Alright Mike, this is your radio on SSB. This is with a dual tone being fed into the mic circuit. So this is the waveform right there, looking pretty good. It's not overdriven or anything. So this is a 50 watt scale here, peak envelope power, so it's about 11.5 watts or so. It's not overly adjusted or anything, because you don't really need it with these amps. I mean, if you overdo it, all you end up doing is splattering this out some, and it's not really good. So if I do that, you can see it's starting to get a little nasty up at the top. I mean, maybe a little bit more I could have went, but if I keep going, there's really no point. A couple watts means nothing, so I'd rather keep it as clean as possible, because these amps really aren't that clean. So as long as the radio is as clean as possible, that helps a lot. So that's that. So what I'm going to do now is turn the amp on. So just 1 second. Alright, so what I want to demonstrate here, this is what these do to your signal. So they do affect it a lot on SSB. So this is still barefoot, just the radio. You can see it's looking good. So what's going to happen here, I'm going to back this down. I'm going to turn the amplifier on. Right now you guys will see it jump way up. But look what happens. It's really nasty. So we're already overdriving the amp. We can tell just by looking at that we're overdriving it. You can see the amp is now on. Really doesn't matter if it's AM or SSB at this point, because we're putting a tone in, so we're not pausing between our words where the relay is going to chatter. But just for purpose of the video, we'll put it in SSB. So 250 watt scale, well, 125 with the dual tone. What I need to do is adjust this now with the amp on to look better. You can see up there all the spurious. If we shut it off, looks better. Although, because we are running through the amp, out of radio into amp, out of amp into test equipment, over to dummy load, you can still see there's spurious right there. The spurious is still present because although you're in standby, your radio signal still passing through. It's getting mixed around by this amplifier coming out, so it still picks up some spurious out of the amp, even though it's not on. So of course when you turn it on, then it does that. So I've shown this stuff before, but so what I'm going to do is align it now with the amp and try to make it look better. So what you'll probably notice is it's going to do less power with the tone, but that's good. You want it to do less. You want it to be linear here. Alright, so I'm done. Amp's still on. Probably going to catch the timeout timer here in a second. But this is what we got now. Much more linear. And it's doing just over 50. Because it's a 250 watt scale. So, and what is our drive power? Just out of curiosity now, let's see. With the two-tone, we're driving in about 2 3/4 watts. Now again, that's with the two-tone. With voice, it's going to do more. But here is the waveform out of the radio. It's beautiful. Turn this back. Turn on the amplifier. You can see it comes up. So I think that's about right. That's what you should want. So let me put the mic on. We'll see how it looks on the meter after I put the mic on. Okay, Mike, so I got your, or this is mine actually. I don't know if you sent yours or not. I didn't look in the box. I thought I saw your president mic, but I didn't need that, but that's fine that you sent it. I'll just send that back with it. I just have to remember too to send you a programming cable for your Anytone that you got from me, so I'll send that as well. Just have to, hopefully you can remind me when we talk on the phone. But it's much better now. So RF power is all the way up on the radio. Mic gain's all the way up. So on sideband you can run it wide open. And this is what we got for power. So 250. Ouch, it's a little hot. I put my elbow on the amp. A little hot. 1 2 1 2 3 4. Check check check. 1 2 3 4. So about 100 and I don't know, 125. Between 100 and 125 depending on which word you say. So it's much better though. What was happening is the amplifier was being overdriven, and that was that really nasty waveform that we were seeing. It was going into like oscillation, and those MOSFETs are just complete garbage when they're overdriven. So they just look nasty, and they really create a lot more spurious emission. So we can see now up here, you know, the spurious emissions are still there, of course, but they're much less than, you know, what they would normally be. So, you know, adjusting your radio to one of these is kind of crucial to get it really set right. And we're still doing a good amount of power, so it's not like we're losing power or anything, or, you know, 125 watts is a big increase over this radio, just what it's doing alone. So let me just, for the sake of it, put the 50 in. I'm not sure what this will do just by itself. So let's see. 1 2 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Yeah, so it's still doing okay, between 15 and 20 watts or so. So that's perfect. I don't think it could really get any better than this. So that's SSB right there. 1 2 3 4. And then AM, now with the RF power all the way up, which is still on a 9. It's a 2-watt dead key. So let's see what it's doing. This is a 50 in there, so we're looking in the middle. 1 2 1 2 3 4, about the same, maybe just a little bit more, but usually that's how the radios work. They usually do a little bit more in AM than SSB, but about 18 watts. So that's perfect for that. Let's drop the dead key back to what I said we need to drop it to run the amp. So it's just 2 clicks. 1, if I can do this, 1 2, whoop, that's mic gain. Wrong button. It's hard to do this with one hand. There we go. RF power, 1 2. So right now it's between a 7 and a 9. So I think it's going to fluctuate. We'll push that in. Okay. Now it should be like 1 3/4 watts. So we're not really lowering it that much, but let's just see here. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. So it's kind of just driving it the same. So just for the heck of it, before I close this video, I'm just going to hit the amp with it all the way up on AM as well. But I like the 25-watt dead key. We'll just see what happens though with the 2-watt dead key going in, what it gives it. So just 1 second, I'll get that. Yeah, it's just like I thought. So with the amp off and set to 2 watts going in on dead key, when you turn the amp on, it goes up a little bit closer to 30, but when I talk, it's going to swing backwards on the average side. So 1 2 1 2, check check check. Hello, hello. So yeah, it's not good. You don't want it to go backwards. So it's like right at the point where it's not working good. So yeah, you need to turn that back a couple clicks and it'll work just fine for it. And you can also go back a little bit more if you want to. It's not going to hurt it, you know, going a little bit less. Like 1 watt is preferred, but I know some guys like to hit it a little harder, and that's why I did said, you know, go back 2 clicks. That way you can hit it a little harder if you want to. Yep, and just to show that, again, it's right on between, whoop. It's right between a 7 and a 9. It's 2 clicks back from being all the way up. So what it will show here is, maybe it does show 2 indicators back. So that could be something to look at. Just 1 second. Alright, yeah, so that makes more sense. If you look at your RF power scale right here, it's 2 notches from the top. So if we push the button, that's all the way up, which does put it on an S9 or SRF signal of 9. If you hit the button and turn it back, 1, 2, you can see 2 of those disappear. So yep, that's the maximum I would hit this amp on AM right there. Now if you want to, you can go less. If you want to, we can go 2 more like that and just see where we'll be at if we turn the amp on and key up. Actually, we're already keyed, so that is about a 15 watt dead key right there, and that would be fine as well. So, you know, and it does jump off when you turn the amp on. So a 15 watt dead key would be fine too. Anything more than like don't run it all the way up, just run it a little bit back, and I think it'll work just fine. So 15 watt dead key right there. But like I say, this would be the max I would run it, is right there. Store that, which is 25 watts. So hopefully that makes sense, and I hope we have good luck with it. I'm not done with it, so I still have some more alignments to do and whatnot, but this is just the transmit. So you can see, you know, with the clarifier, it needs to be stabilized with the covers on for a while and then readjusted, but it's very easily corrected, you know, with any mismatch in frequency now just by moving the clarifier. So if you move the course like that, I mean, it goes way, well, that's as far as it goes on AM, so it doesn't take it to the 0, unfortunately, but you can slide around a little bit. So there we go. It's really not too far off, really. And just to show one last time here, 2 notches from the top on the RF power. Amp is on. Hear it keying up. Chair squeaky. About 25 watts of average power. Check, check. 1, 2, it is moving forward slightly, which is good. Hello, hello, test radio. So that's the limit right there. If you go past that, it's going to go backwards on you. So it's ready to roll as far as that goes. I'll get the rest of it finished up, and I think you're going to like it a lot better now, Mike. It's going to work better for you. So thanks a lot. I'll be in touch. 7-3 for now. Thanks for watching.